Okay, welcome to Mary Kay University. This class is MKU 7 and it is business management. And what we're going to be talking about today at this class is the time management section. So, John Maxwell said, success is hidden in your daily routine. There are 168 hours in a week. And there are two types of people. Those that control their time and those that let time control them. Okay, so your weekly plan sheet, what is it? Well, first let me show you what it looks like. Your weekly plan sheet looks like this. This is your weekly plan sheet. So you can see two different ones. This one is actually color-coded, and you can do your tracking as well. And it has how many bookings, what are your coaching appointments, color coding, and your weekly sales goal. There's also one that is just a little bit bigger, so depending on how you write on it, you can use that. And then the one I use is electronic, that is on my, my computer, my phone, and my iPad. So what is your weekly plan sheet? So what I love about a weekly plan sheet, it is we schedule our time, and instead of thinking it is constrictive, really when we work from a schedule, we really have more freedom. I know that sounds kind of weird, but your perfect week, so what is it? It's your perfect week, and it gives you permission to say no. That's what I love about our weekly plan sheet. And where does it live? Well, it's going to live in on your refrigerator, in your date book, and on your phone. And why is this important? Because it lets your family know that you are treating your business like a business, and you want them to, here's what I know. When you treat your business like a business, it will pay you like a business. When you treat your business like a hobby, it will pay you like a hobby. So one of the things that I was always taught is that we're going to color code it. So the color codes, let's talk about this. For me, my blue is anything to do with my faith, me, and my body. So I'm thinking, so it's my spiritual, it's my physical, it's developing my leadership, anything that supports me emotionally, physically, or spiritually, that's what I put in blue. Then yellow, I always put for me is my family. And I think of that as sunshine. So think blue is heaven, and then yellow is sunshine in my family, or the yellow happy face. So that makes me think of my family. And then green is what we're going to call an IPA. And an IPA is an income producing activity. And so pink is our non-Mary Kay IPAs. So that would be the time that we're doing right now for training and education. That would be like today I had my director's conference call. I had that as that. Gray, we always say is JOB, a journey of the broke. Sometimes people say that's what their JOB is. And then red is your date night with your spouse or your spouse. So here's what I know. One of the most important things is that we want to create harmony. I don't think that in life we'll ever have balance, but we can have harmony. And what our weekly plan sheet does, so I schedule in when is my me time, and then for my family. When my kids were little, I would get their whole sports schedules, and I would put everything down on the calendar for the next 3 months. Anything that has to do with school, anything that had to do with anything of my family, doctor's appointments, dentist, everything is put on there. Schedule in the time with your spouse or your spouse, and then make sure that that is a priority. And here's what I know. Learn from me and what not to do. Then and create harmony. So in the beginning of my Mary Kay business, I just was so excited. I would take appointments anywhere, everywhere, and I really did not consult my husband. Well, that didn't go very well. Okay. So when we create a weekly plan sheet and you sit down and you go, okay, when is an important time for us to be together? What is important for you? Like I know from my husband, he said, you can work anytime because he's an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. So sometimes we have kind of wacky schedules. So when we work, we work. And when we play, and we take a lot of vacations. But so he wants me Friday nights and Saturday nights. Well, in the beginning, I would hold Friday fun night parties. Well, that I didn't ask him, I just did it. So that doesn't go well. So when you're creating your weekly plan sheet, you sit down with your family and what is important and where do you need me and what do, so when we create that, then I can see little pockets of time. Now we're going to talk. I've got a training that you can listen to that goes in more details, and it's called Hours, and it really talks about scheduling. I'm not going to go too much into it today because there's a detailed 30-minute class on Hours on how to create a schedule. That if you wanted to, someone was starting off part-time, but they are willing to invest hours into their phone work. Remember? Okay, so in a Mary Kay car, we have 4 wheels. The first wheel is booking, and that's scheduling appointments. The second wheel is coaching, and then we have selling, and so we can do that at a party. But once we've got initial customers, we're also going to have customer service in the selling aspect of it, and then we've got sharing the opportunity. So if you were taking and you were creating, someone was creating a powerful, powerful work week, and if they did, now you don't have to do them on these days, but just say Monday was booking, Tuesday was coaching, Wednesday was customer service, and Thursday was phone work for career talks. And if you did it that way, you would have such a rock solid business, like crazy rock solid business. And then on Friday you could take an hour and it could be your paperwork. And then if you spent 2 hours at your success meeting, and then you did a 2-hour party, so that's 5, 9, and then okay, I just had a brain hiccup. Okay, and then an hour to 2 hours of career talks. That's like a 10 to 12 hour work week. If you did that, you would be amazed, because if you had a party of 4 to 6, that's 30 faces. Like you could almost do your 30 faces or 25 faces in that structure. And then if you brought guests to your success, 2 hours for your success meeting. So it's like a 10 to 12 hour work week. Super strong. Now, when we're and as you, and I'll work with each person on an individual basis. So once you put your life on your weekly plan sheet, what you think it looks like, then based on your own career goals, I will sit down with you and kind of show you how the thought process goes of where to fit in calls. Because I know that if I'm going to hold a party on a Saturday, I'm typically going to coach that party on Friday. So I'm going to have, in my thinking, I take an hour to coach for every party that I have that I'm going to hold. Like Kelly, you had a really big guest list. So literally for your coaching on Friday, that took me over an hour. But because I had conversations and was building rapport, but the time that we invest up front, so a typical party, 6 people, is going to take you probably about, I allocate an hour to coach. So I can help you strategically create a schedule. And here's the thing, we want to work in time blocks. And when my kids were little, even though it's more effective to work in an hour time block, and you could do 30-minute time blocks, but when, I will tell you this, when my kids were little, and Haley was 18 months old, and Taylor was 3.5, and then she was 2, and he was 4, and I was building a business, I was very strategic. I had my call list, and if my kids were quiet, I might work in a 5-minute time block. I mean, sometimes we do what we have to do, but then what I found is, even though when they were little, I would hire the little girl across the street to come over, and I had a night for my phone night, and she would come over for 2 hours to play with the kids. And if my husband came home early, then she could go home. But I needed that constant 2-hour time block, and I work good in 2 hours. And that's just my body, because sometimes it takes about 15 minutes to get going. That's why we don't, and then you get good. And then at the end of an hour, for me, I'm like really in tune to my phone work. And then by 2 hours, I'm like, I'm done. Put a fork in me. All right. So the 6 most important things list to do. This is what this one looks like. Here's a 6 list. So this is on page 126. And here's a 1-pager. If you like a 1-pager, you can have it 1-pager. If you like to write bigger, there's a 2-pager on my website. But here's what I like it to look like. It really looks like this. Okay? Now, let's talk about being strategic. So in my book, I would have a day for every day. So this is what day 1 would look like. And then I flipped it over, and then the back side would look the same way. So if you do front and back. So what is the 6 list? We're going to talk about how to use this side, and then we're going to talk about how to use the brain dump side. All right? So on your 6 list, what are some of the things that would be most important for you to do? Well, first, book 2 appointments a day. So it's easier if it's done daily. And here's what I know: when you're out of bookings, you're out of business. So we're going to talk through, I don't know, there's a really great training that will have a link on the website, and it's called the 21-day challenge. And I think that the thinking and the strategy and how to implement that call system is absolutely brilliant. I just think it's brilliant. And so I would encourage you to watch that and then incorporate the bits and pieces that you like. You may tweak it to part of your personality. It doesn't mean that you have to do everything perfectly, but I do think that it is a very powerful system. So I was always told a booking a day keeps the scaries away. And if you are a part-time consultant, then that's 1 booking a day. Full-time, 2 bookings a day. Now, what is a booking? A booking could be scheduling someone to come to a Mary Kay event. It could be to a guest event, like a Beauty Escapes, or it could be our Tuesday Night Live, or it could be a party, it could be a facial, it could be a career talk. It could be that you're inviting someone to a holiday open house, but we're having a booking. Okay, and then selling. Remember, that's our 2 + 2 + 2. That's the customer service portion that we just went through. Because if you take the time to establish a customer and you don't take the time to foster the relationship and provide them good customer service, then you've just wasted the time up front where you could be paid on over and over and over again and establish. That's how come we have the highest retention rate of about 80 to 85% of our customers we keep. And then coaching. Now, what could that look like? That could be a postcard. That could be texting an invite. It could be phone calls. It could be pre-profiling. And then what is an interview? Well, I don't really like to call it an interview. You can call it an interview. You can call it an interview, INNERVIEW, because we're really going inside to find out what's important to her. You could call it a company survey that you're asking to get their opinion about our company, or you could call it a career conversation, whatever works for you. And you could invite someone to your success meeting. You could take your prospect with you to your party or a facial, and you could just say, you know what, come watch me work. Just see come watch what I do, and then, be my helper. And then everything else, I was always taught that Mary Kay 9 to 9 is people time. And so, in a perfect world, I was always taught that we do all of our non-income producing activities after that. Well, that's a perfect world. So we'll say 99 is people time, and that is the goal. Okay, so a bubble sheet. Let's talk about a bubble sheet. Well, on here, this breaks it down, and you could use this, or like I said, there's a million different forms, whichever 6 list works best for you. And we're going to talk about this brain dump, but before we go anywhere, how many times I'm on the phone, okay, and I'm having a conversation with someone, and all of a sudden you think, oh my gosh, I got to take the dog to the vet. Or I have to go, I'm out of milk. Or I'm talking to someone and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot I've got a guest and I need to, for our success meeting tomorrow. So what happens is all of our brain is very powerful, by the way. And our brain goes in a million different places. So if you have said that I'm going to carve out 1 hour, and so for me, I want to do an hour of booking every day. In a perfect world, that would be absolutely perfect, okay? So with that 1 hour of booking, while I'm booking those people, I'm going to have a million thoughts go through my head. And so if I think, oh, I got to go take, the dog to the vet, then right here, you just jot it down. Dog to vet. Okay, oh, I've got to call the girl for tomorrow night. She's my guest. Susie Q, TNL for Tuesday Night Live. And so the beautiful thing about this is if I'm going to do my hour of booking, I'm very strategic. So every thought that pops into my head, I put it on the paper, and then I can release it. And so when I go to my coaching time, guess what? I already have my list that's already there of who I'm going to do for coaching. And then when I'm coaching, I'm going to have people that pop into my head that I'm supposed to call for booking. So then I can put them on my booking list. But if you'll use a brain dump sheet, either this sheet or something else, you will have such focus and such clarity, because if you will do one task, whether it's a 30-minute time slot or if it's an hour time slot, your effectiveness will be so much greater than us trying to jump all over the place. Does that make sense? Okay. So it says here, hours is the most important activity that you can do for yourself. And here, we just talked about it, our 4 categories of hours are booking, coaching, selling/customer service, and sharing the opportunity or interviewing. Now we're going to talk about a bubble sheet, but if you use the new system with the 21-day booking or the booking power plan, I'm going to show you what the other sheet looks like, and you can choose, and you're either going to use a bubble sheet or you're going to use the other tracking sheet. You're not going to use both. So I'll give you two ideas, and then you can choose which one to take care of. But a bubble sheet or a daily booking sheet keeps you accountable to yourself, and a goal is to complete 1 bubble sheet a week, which is 10 calls a day. And that's the whole strategy thinking of the power booking plan, is the 10 contacts a day. Now, here's the numbers. And remember, when you learn to work your business from discipline and not emotion, and you work the numbers, you take all the emotion out of the equation, you're now in control of your paycheck. So if you talk to 50 people, you will reach half. That means you will actually have a conversation, whether it's a live verbal conversation or if it's a text conversation. Not very much email conversation, but that would count if someone did that. But primarily the 2 ways we're going to connect with people are either Facebook, text, or actual conversations. And you will book half of those, so that means you would have 12 bookings. And if we hold half of that, then that means you and you hold anywhere from 1 to 2 to 1 to 3, depending on what your hold ratio is. In the beginning, it might be 1 to 3, but the goal is to hone your skills so it's 1 to 2. So out of those 50 contacts, you will actually hold 3 to 6 appointments a week. So if someone says, okay, Lisa, I'm only going to make 10 calls a week, guess what? They reach half, they book half, 2, and 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 will hold, and then nothing holds, and then they get discouraged. So my question to you is, did the system work or did they not work the system? I mean, we have a numbers game. We all do the same thing. Doctors overbook, lawyers overbook, airlines overbook, we overbook. That's just the way it is. You will have cancellations. You will have postponements. I have cancellations. I have postponements. And many times it's not that we have a cancellation, because a cancellation means that it's off our books forever, but something happens and we just reschedule it and we juggle our calendar. So at the bottom it says that you will hold 1 appointments or no appointments will be held if you only make 10 calls a week. Working woman plan sheet. This is just looking that, you know what, everybody has, you know, I mean, if we were going to go ahead, okay, I don't know who sleeps 8 hours a night every night. I'd like to meet them. But
does that exist?
But if we slept 8 hours a night, that would be 56 hours. If you worked 8 hours a day, that means you would, from another job, that would be 40 hours. It give you an hour of drive time every day, an hour a day for grooming, an hour a day for eating and cooking, an hour a day for laundry. I don't know about y'all, but I do not do 7 hours of laundry a week. I do laundry, but not 7. If you went to church for 3 hours, shopping for 3 hours, and errands, and you spent 3 hours a day with family and friends and on personal time, that means you would use 148 hours in your week. That means you would have 17 and a half. Okay, so that would be 168 hours. Okay, now we're going to see how you have 19 hours remaining. Where does the time go? All right, so if you were going to hold 3 parties a week, that's 6 hours. 3 interviews a week, that's 1 hour, that's 3 hours. You have your success meeting for 2 hours, an hour and a half for paperwork, 1 hour of booking, and then, so basically 1 hour of phone work 5 days a week. That would be 17 and a half hours out of your 19 hours remaining. So here's the thing. The beautiful thing about what we do is that we weave this business in. So there are very few times in my life, really during my work week, that I am working 8 hours straight. So like when I do, I'm like, because we weave it all in, so it's kind of crazy. So let's talk about if you were a senior consultant. And I'm not going to work through all of this because you can read through it. But if you wanted to do 2 hours a day work plan, that means that if you did 2 hours a day and you spent 30 minutes in booking, 30 minutes in coaching, 30 minutes in customer service, and 30 minutes in team building, okay? Now, hours is not the time that we are going to incorporate the time that you do to hold a party or to hold an appointment, okay? But basically, if I'm going to book 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, that will typically generate 1 booking a day, and that means 20 a month, and if half of them will hold, that's 10 appointments, 10 parties a month, okay? And basically, if you were doing that, it's just saying if an average party was only 200, and we know that that is very conservative, because if you're selling repair sets, a repair set is 200. And that doesn't include the foundation set, and that doesn't include anything else. But if you did that and you did 10 classes, that would be $2,000 a month in sales, and your profit is $1,000, and your wholesale order is $1,000. Now in money management, I am going to teach you to take 200 or 10% of that what is set aside for business expenses, but we're just going to make this super simple. Coaching, it walks through. If I did just 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, and that could be that you're educating yourself on coaching. That could be pre-profiling. That could be texting. And then customer service is doing your calls. And if you just did, that would be 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, 2.5 hours. Typically, you can sell $50 in a 30-hour time period. So that would be that you would, if you did 2.5 hours, 10 hours a month would give you $1,000 in sales. And so if you, and then team building, it works through, okay, so here's the numbers for team building. If we ask 20, half will say yes to listen, 10 will say yes, and a new team member typically recruits and has a new team member out of every 5 people they share the opportunity with. Okay, you'll get to where it's 1 in 3 as your skills are honed, but it walks through with the qualified, the wholesale, and it walks through everything. So if you look over here, if you invested 2 hours a day in phone work and you held 10 parties a month, or now that's only saying 4 people are there because they're saying it's conservative. So if you do a party of 6, you could probably do that. So you can choose, do you want to hold 8 parties a month, 1 or 2 a week, and depending on there. But this would give you, the numbers would give you a profit of $1,580. Okay, and then it goes up, and that's conservative. All right, so now we did this one. That's our weekly plan sheet. Then this. Now what I do for my weekly plan sheet is I literally do it on my computer, and then I print it out, and then I put my printouts in my brain book, because if I see it on paper, then it's easier for me to decide when I want to hold parties. So like at the end of the month, the first day of the month, what I do, and I did this yesterday, is I always take a couple of hours and I go back and I review the previous month before, and I'm like, okay, what goals did I set for myself? Where did I have a win? Where did I fall short? What could I have done differently? And I really analyze my own personal performance, and then I create my game plan for the next month. And really, we call that a completion exercise. And so once we're complete, then we just throw it away, because if we didn't fulfill up on something, and I'm not going to take that with me into the next month, right? Because if we take stuff into the next month, then we're building our foundation on not enough stuff, right? Because if we have bad stuff in our head and we take it forward, we can't be powerful. So we take, and this is really a great thing to do at the end of every week. So as you sit down on a Sunday and you evaluate your week before, and you're doing your paperwork, what did I do well? What could I do differently? What did I, what skill maybe do I want to work on this week? And if we take one thing at a time, then we can be effective. So yesterday I went in and I created my month. So I know exactly when I want to hold parties, and I have it scheduled into my weekly plan sheet. I know, and then I can be a little fluid and create my days. But I have that whole structure of the events that I will be working my Mary Kay business, the days that I'm allocated for parties, and now I can powerfully go in and book those parties. Because if we don't have that down, then how can you book a party? Does that make sense? And then we work on a daily sheet, and before you go to bed at night, you go in and fill out your 6 list. Now, why would we want to do that?
You don't forget.
What?
You don't forget.
Yeah, because our subconscious mind never goes to sleep. So if you you know, one of the things that we can do to be powerful is at the end of the evening, if you sit down and thought, okay, now what can I do? And you do your affirmations and you complete everything, then your subconscious will go to work all night long. And here's what I know about myself. Like, Nancy, you said you are a night person. Okay, I'm not a night person. Okay, so there comes a point that if I try and do this at 10 o'clock at night, do you think I'm effective? Okay, but I can do it when I close down my workday. Okay, and if I close down my workday that day at 6, or I might have a lull, and I might have a little bit of time, I could do that at 6 o'clock. I could do that at 8 o'clock. It doesn't matter what time I do it, but as long as I do it. And then our subconscious goes to work, and so I can plan out my whole day. Like, if I'm going to run errands, where am I going to go? Where am I going to do deliveries? And create a powerful, positive thing. And now you can either be a paper person or you can be an electronic person. Okay, and we're going to talk about different systems on follow-up. So I'm going to give you ideas, and then you figure out which one works best for you. So if someone's a paper girl, and you got to see it on paper, and you have 30 sheets like this, if you want to do this, like 30 sheets of these at the beginning of the month, you go Xerox these front and back, put them in your binder, and then that would be your weekly plan sheet. So if I'm talking to Susie and she says, well, call me on May 15th, you could literally go over to May 15th on the day that's May 15th, and you would put her in one of your little boxes, right? So you go in here, I'm supposed to get her guest list on May 15th, and so I'm going to put her under coaching. I'm going to put Mary, get guest list, and I could put her phone number there. If you're an electronic person, what I do is I go in and I create a new event, and I put it in an all-day event, and I put myself little notes on when I have committed to calling her. So do it on paper or do it on electronically. Okay, here's a bubble sheet. This is the description of a bubble sheet. This is the bubble sheet, okay? And this was created by National Sales Director Tammy Craig, and it's really masterful. And it talks about that if you did a bubble sheet, 56 contacts, that would take 30 to 60 minutes of calls. And if you chose to create and complete one sheet a week, then the activity would have you into a team leader position in 6 months. If you chose to complete 2 sheets a week, that would put you into a team leader position in 3 months, and in your career car in 6 months. And if you chose to complete 3 sheets a week, which would be 150 calls, then, and that would be contacts. Now remember, some of those we're just going to leave messages, but that's making the call. Would be that you would be a team leader in 2 months with 5 team members. You could be driving your free car in 4 months, and then you could become a director in 6 months. So, so Tammy Craig projects that each sheet produces 10 yeses out of your 50 contacts. Okay, which is kind of like we call 50, we talk to half, we talk to 25, we pick 1 and 2, so 10. So 10 yeses, and each sheet will produce $1,000 in sales. And in 6 months, that's 240 bookings doing 1 sheet a week. So I love that she is so strategic. So one of the things that Tammy did, if you want great training, you can call this number at the bottom right here. And it says, to hear more details on the bubble sheet, call 641-715-3800 and enter the access code 610206, pound and hit 7 to hear National Sales Director Tammy Craig teach on her bubble sheet. And so let's go in and talk about this really quickly. This